Common sense tells you that there are always two sides to a story. Common sense tells us that we need to examine the totality of the circumstances to determine the meaning of evidence and how it can be applied to the questions of reasonableness of actions and reactions. In other words, common sense is the application of sound judgment based upon a reasoned analysis. And that's what this case is ultimately about. It's about the evidence in this case. The evidence that you will see in this case during this trial. It is, I agree with counsel for the state, it is nothing more than that. There is no political or social cause in this courtroom.
You will learn that the last 9 minutes and 29 seconds of Mr. Floyd's life.
So how do we begin to analyze and organize this evidence? I suggest that you let common sense and reason guide you. 911 to report Mr. Floyd. During that call, Mr. Camaro, you will hear, the evidence will show that when confronted by police, Mr. Floyd put drugs in his mouth in an effort to conceal them from the police. And then Officer Chauvin began to assist them in their efforts to get him into the squad car. When you see these videos pulled back from afar, you will be able to see the Minneapolis Police squad car rocking back and forth during this struggle. So much so that it catches the attention of the 911 dispatcher, Jenna Scurry. This was not an easy struggle, in that they contained methamphetamine and traces of fentanyl. Moreover, they're called names. You heard them this morning. A fucking bum. They're screaming at him, causing the officers to divert their attention from the care of Mr. Floyd to the threat that was growing in front of them. Struggle, Mr. Floyd banged his face into the plexiglass partition. And you will learn that Derek Chauvin did exactly what he had been trained to do over the course of his 19-year career. The use of force is not attractive, but it is a necessary component of policing.
To breathe, ladies and gentlemen. You will learn that the last 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
You will learn that in the second search of Squad 320, agents recovered several pieces of partially dissolved pills. You will learn that these pills were again analyzed, were again shown to be consistent or similar to the pills found on the Mercedes-Benz, in that they contained methamphetamine and traces of fentanyl. Moreover, these pills contained the DNA and saliva of George Floyd. The first call, officers called for paramedics to arrive code 2 because Mr. Floyd had a nose injury. He was bleeding from the nose. That occurred during the struggle. Mr. Floyd banged his face into the plexiglass partition of the squad car. You will see the blood evidence in the squad car. Lawyers to keep track of the case, to make sure that we are working from the same set of documents. And this will ultimately be another significant battle in this trial. What was Mr. Floyd's actual cause of death? The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia that occurred as a result of hypertension, his coronary disease, the ingestion of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and the adrenaline flowing through his body, all of which acted to further compromise an already compromised heart. And you will hear from Mr. Martin that Mr. Hall, but when you review the actual evidence and when you hear the law and apply reason and common sense, there will only be one just verdict, and that is to find Mr. Chauvin not guilty. Thank you.
Members of the jury, we're going to take our morning recess at this time until about 11:15.